მოგესალმებით, დღეს ბათუმელების სტუმარია USAID-ის სტრატეგიის და პროგრამების ოფისის ხელმძღვანელი კლერ მესონი. მოგესალმებით, ქალბატონო კლერ, დიდი მადლობა, რომ ხართ ჩვენი სტუმარი და პასუხობთ ბათუმელების კითხვებს. Πρώτ რიგში მინდა გითხოთ კონფერენციის შესახებ. ეს კონფერენცია მდგრადი ინსტიტუტების მშენებლობა საქართველოში და ტარდება USAID-ის ადამიანური და ინსტიტუციური შესაძლებლობების განვითარების პროექტის ფარგლებში. მოგვიყევით ამ პროგრამის შესახებ, ვინ არიან ჩართული და შედეგების შესახებ, ასევე უკვე გვაქვს შესახები შედეგები.
So first of all, I just want to say thank you for having me today here in your studio and talking to me about the history of Batumalebi. The work you do is so important, and I appreciate the opportunity to get to talk about what USAID is doing in Ajara writ large, as well as today specifically. I, as you noted, just came from our conference on supporting human and institutional capacity development. This is part of a 5-year program that we have that is working with institutions, governmental, non-governmental, civil society, private sector, business associations, to improve their internal capacity to be efficient and effective. Having these institutions have the higher level of operational workings enables Georgia to sustain its trajectory of growing the economy and increasing democracy within the country. We have the conference here in Ajara because over the last several years there has been a huge push from USAID to ensure that the development assistance that we're providing is not just centered in Tbilisi, but rather is really reaching out to the regions. Here we were able to bring together not just people from Batumi, but from all over West Georgia to talk about both the successes we have had on organizational development, as well as ways that we can improve our support to organizations. As an example, here in Ajara, we're working with the Supreme Council, we're working with the Department of Tourism and Resorts, we're working with the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Education, Culture and Sport, as well as CSOs, business associations, and private companies, including Organic Georgia. You asked about a result, so let me give you an Ajara-specific example. In 2021, a group of activists, farmers, came together with the idea that they wanted to expand organic farming here in Georgia. This would help them reach a more lucrative niche market if they were able to reach standards of organic farming. They came together to build a business, an association. USAID stepped in to help them on their organizational development, helping them to create a business that was viable, create a plan to outreach to new farmers and to encourage people to adopt the organic practices, and to develop the digital marketing that is necessary to reach the EU markets. Through that assistance, this association of Organic Georgia has now grown to include 20 farmers. It is difficult to move from traditional farming to organic farming, but the association is able to help farmers understand the benefits as well as the process. USAID has been a small part of that business development. We're seeing the success in it growing. We're seeing the 20 farmers that are already here in Ajara getting increased revenue for their own businesses, and we know that that number is going to increase, lifting up the prosperity not just of those families, but of the community. We really wanted to make sure that we were able to work with our beneficiaries directly. And so by having it here in Batumi, we were able to attract, obviously, those who are in Batumi, but also some of our counterparts in Mountainous Ajara, and Goria and other surrounding municipalities. So, I think it's very important for us to meet people where they're at. It ensures that we're going to have maximum participation, and we're going to get feedback on what we can do to help improve the organizations here.
მინდა გითხრათ 2024 წლის გეგმებთან დაკავშირებით გასულ კვირას სენატორმა შახინმა იკითხა საქართველოში გრძელვადიანი სადამკვირვებლო მისიის შესაძლებლობის შესახებ. თქვენ როგორ უყურებთ ამ საკითხს? რამდენად შესაძლებელია მართლაც რომ გრძელვადიანი სადამკვირვებლო მისია იყოს საქართველოში 2024 წლის არჩევნებისთვის? როგორ შეიძლება დაიხმაროს USAID საქართველოს, რათა 2024 წლის არჩევნები ჩატარდეს დემოკრატიულ და სამართლიან გარემოში?
Of course, free and fair elections are a bedrock of the type of assistance that USAID has been providing to Georgia for decades. We currently have an ongoing, very robust election processes program. We are obviously helping to support observation, and observation can take a lot of different forms. It can be both short-term and long-term, and it can be both with international experts as well as by supporting domestic observers of elections. Here in Georgia, we know that the 2024 elections are very important and are going to be supporting election observation through USAID. In addition, we know that elections don't just happen on that day, but there is a lot of preparation that goes into ensuring that elections can be free and fair. USAID's assistance also extends to supporting the Central Election Commission and in their capacity of administering elections. With the elections transferring to be on a digital platform, that is a huge change for Georgia. It's a huge change for any country, and we need to ensure that all of the poll workers understand how the new technology works, as well as those who are observing the elections and the general public. We also work with political parties to help improve their efficacy of reaching out to young people, constituencies, and being issue-based. We're very proud of the fact that our support is non-partisan, as in we provide the same support to all political parties. The goal always is to help support Georgia to have free and fair elections.
დაახლოებით 50 მილიონია, რომელსაც აძლევს ამერიკელი ხალხი საქართველოს USAID-ის მეშვეობით. შეიძლება ის თანხა გაიზარდოს 2024 წლისთვის.
So actually, the budget that USAID Georgia is operating with is about $75 million a year. As you know, USAID is an arm of the US government, and we are funded annually by Congress. And so Congress, who holds the purse strings, can change the levels that countries get. Georgia is lucky in that there is bipartisan support for helping to advance Georgia's Euro-Atlantic integration and support its development. And that is the reason why Georgia has a quite robust support from Congress, and USAID has a large budget that we're able to work with. Everything that we're doing with that money falls underneath our current strategy, and the main goals of that are to counter malign influence, to support citizen-responsive governance, and to foster economic growth that results in jobs for Georgia. Everything that we do advances those goals and helping Georgia on its path to be more prosperous and secure.
Thank you. რაფორმით შეიძლება გაგრძელდეს USAID-ის მხარდაჭერა საქართველოში სასამართლო რეფორმის კუთხით, როგორც ცნობილია, ამერიკის შეერთებულმა შტატებმა დაასანქცია საქართველოში მოსამართლეები. მანამდე ასევე სახელმწიფო დეპარტამენტი აღნიშნავდა, რომ სასამართლო სისტემაში გვაქვს კლანი. ამის შემდეგ როგორ შეიძლება შეიცვალოს მხარდაჭერა საქართველოს სასამართლო სისტემის მიმართ? USAID
is committed to working with the judiciary to help support a judiciary that is independent, that is transparent, and that is impartial. This is helping to support judges make decisions that are based on Georgian laws, based on the evidence that's presented to them, and without any influence. The USAID Rule of Law program works with courts across the country and will continue to support those who want to see judicial reform, transparency, independence, and democratic processes, as well as the other key reforms that are necessary for EU integration.
გასაგებია, მაგრამ განიხილავთ თორე რომ შეიძლება შეიცვალოს ეს მხარდაჭერა სასამართლო რეფორმის მიმართ, რადგანაც თუ გიხედავთ მოცემულობას, რომ რეალურად კლანი ძლიერდება, რაც აღნიშნული იყო ასევე სახელმწიფო დეპარტამენტის ერთ-ერთ ანგარიში, და ასევე ასანქცირებს ამერიკის შეერთებული შტატები კონკრეტულ მოსამართლეებს კორუფციაში ჩართულობის გამო. ანუ ამის შემდეგ რამდენად შეიძლება შეიცვალოს რაღაც მიდგომები ამ რეფორმის მხარდაჭერის კუთხით.
So, like I said, USAID's programming has been going on for years and does evolve to support the judiciary where it's at. We are still proud to partner with the judiciary to help make it more transparent, accountable, and free from any outside pressures. It's important to us that we're working with judges, court offices, staff, prosecutors, attorneys, and students across the country to help provide this. USAID's Rule of Law program also, beyond just working with courts, does work on legal aid, access to justice, and other very key important issues for the Georgian people.
ცოტა ხნის წინ მღელვარების საგანი იყო საქართველოში აგენტების შესახებ კანონი, რომელიც საბოლოოდ გაიწვია საქართველოს პარლამენტმა. შეგიძლიათ ჩვენს მკითხველს უთხრათ, ჩვენს აუდიტორიას, რა გავლენას მოახდენდა ამ კანონის მიღება ამერიკელი ხალხის დახმარებაზე.
Yeah, I think our ambassador has already spoken out very clearly to say what the point of view on the draft law was. We know that it would have stigmatized civil society organizations and silenced the voices of Georgians who are working to better their communities. We know from what has been said that it would have hurt Georgia's European future prospects. I would, however, like to talk a little bit about why USAID invests in civil society, not just here in Georgia, but around the world. We understand that civil society is a bedrock of any vibrant democracy. It plays an important role in terms of raising issues that citizens care about, holding government accountable, providing a voice to those who don't have it, and delivering services. Let me give you a few examples, because when people talk about civil society, I think it's really important that we think about what it is exactly. Civil society can be a group of young people in a small town that are worried about air pollution. And so they get together and they find ways to go to their local government to talk about their concerns about the environmental impact on them. And they make changes to improve their lives. It can be organizations that are providing help and support to parents whose children have disabilities to ensure that they're getting adequate education and health services. It can be free legal aid that is provided to those who need to go to court and can't afford an attorney. It can also be, on a much bigger level. It can be the civil society organizations that are observing elections. And finally, it can be kind of on the economic side, right? It can be groups of farmers coming together to advocate for a better business enabling environment, to allow their community, their families, their businesses to prosper. These are very important roles, and civil society plays an important role across USAID's entire portfolio. We're very proud of the work that we do with civil society here in Georgia, just as we're proud of the work that we're doing with the government at national and local levels, and the private sector.
მადლობა. ეს რომ უფრო კონკრეტულად გითხრათ, როგორ აისახებოდა USAID-ის პროგრამებზე, თუ კი ამ ეგრეთ წოდებულ რუსულ კანონს მიიღებდა პარლამენტი.
I mean, I think it's impossible to speculate about hypotheticals. I can say that we have heard the concerns from the EU countries and from the US about what it would do to Georgia's prospects, but in terms of concrete steps of what would happen, I really can't entertain hypotheticals. We haven't gone through it yet, and hopefully we won't. USAID has a long history of working in partnership with Georgia, and I can't see that changing moving forward. We are dedicated to working in partnership with Georgia and Georgians to advance your stated goal of moving towards the EU. I can't speculate what a potential future law would do, but I can say that USAID fundamentally here in Georgia and around the world understands civil society as a very essential part to any vibrant democracy. And we know that is what Georgia wants to be and will be as it moves towards the EU and its European future.
Thank you for this response. მედი გარემო შესახებ ვინაკითხოთ, რომელიც ბოლო წლების განმავლობაში კიდევ უფრო გაუარესდა, რომ გავიხსენოთ იქ 5 ივლისის ძალადობრივი აქციის ორგანიზატორები, რომლებიც არ დაუშჯიათ ამ დრომდე. ასევე სხვა ფაქტები, მაგალითად რუსული კანონის მიღება, რაც ახლავს საუბრობდით. ეს აჩვენებს, რომ მედია გარემო უარესდება, რასაც აქვს ძალიან მსუსხავი ეფექტი განსაკუთრებით დამოუკიდებელი მედიის საშუალებებისთვის. ამ ფონზე ხომ არ აპირებთ დამოუკიდებელი მედიის პირდაპირ მხარდაჭერას, მით უფრო 2024 წლის მოახლოებული არჩევნების ფონზე.
So First of all, I just want to recognize that today is May 3rd, which is World International Press Freedom Day.
Thank you.
Thank you to you, to everyone working here, for the really important service that you are providing to the Georgian people, of giving them access to information that is trustworthy. We know that the work that you are doing and the many other stations, independent, regional, national, local, around the country, really is very important. And USAID wants to continue to support the media and information space. We currently have 2 programs that are trying to do that. The first one, Georgia's Information Integrity Program, is specifically focused on the issue of disinformation and misinformation. We know that the world has changed with the advent of social media, the increase of places where people are getting their information, and the fact that often media consumers are getting information from places that are not reliable, that are not fact-based. We need to make sure that the Georgian public is sophisticated in understanding what is real news and what are fake messages that are being sent in to sow dissatisfaction. So through that program, we are addressing disinformation, misinformation by increasing the capacity of Georgians to understand, recognize, and dispel disinformation, as well as really supporting content creators to dispel the myths that are created by disinformation. And this is not a problem here in Georgia alone. It is a worldwide problem, one that my own country is struggling with in terms of trying to understand what is real news and what is fake news. We also have a very new program, it's less than a year old, it's a media program, and it is trying to support media content creators to provide content that is fact-based, evidence-based, well-researched, and engaging for the Georgian public, things that matter to citizens. We're also working on the enabling environment, recognizing that the media landscape has changed here in Georgia, and we want to make sure that journalists are able to operate in an environment that is safe and free from harassment. And finally, we're also expanding how we're working with media, because we recognize that people do get their information from such a wide variety of sources these days. So it's not just working with your traditional television studios, but we're also trying to reach out to influencers, online media, all the different ways that people access information. What you're saying about the media space is absolutely true, and we recognize it. It is a very difficult environment to work in, and it also is one that is incredibly important for citizens, so that they know where to go and so that they can get the information that they need.
ამიტომ გითხოთ კონფლიქტურ რეგიონებთან დაკავშირებით, როგორც ვიცით, იქ USAID-ი არაერთ პროგრამას ახორციელებს. მოგვიყევით ამ პროგრამების შესახებ. როგორ მუშაობს თქვენი პროგრამები აფხაზეთში და რა პრობლემებს აწყდებით იქ მუშაობის დროს?
As part of our focus, USAID wants to create positive engagements both in and along the administrative boundary line. We recognize that the communities along the Russian-occupied territories of Georgia have been adversely affected to a greater extent than much of the rest of Georgia. We believe that strong and prosperous communities along the ABL is necessary to have a strong and prosperous Georgia. We also hope that these economic opportunities that we're creating along the ABL give the people in those communities the knowledge that the future is better than what the past was. And by building this resilience, this community cohesion, they are better able to push away the malign influences that are trying to attack Georgia's sovereignty, territorial integrity, and development process. We also are very proud to work together with the UNDP, United Nations Development Program, to be able to implement programming within Abkhazia. The goals of this program are to create people-to-people connections as part of a reconciliation and peace program. And the main tangible efforts that we're really trying to improve are the economic, social, and health outcomes.
საინტერესო რა სახის პრობლემებს აწყდებით აფხაზეთში ამ პროგრამების განხორციელების დროს?
I think there are obviously a lot of challenges whenever we're talking about working in occupied territories. But there are also opportunities. There are areas that we have seen, kind of bright spots where we have really gotten to see increased collaboration. So I have been in Georgia for 4 years, so I got to live the COVID-19 pandemic here. And obviously, it was terrible for everyone. It did, however, create opportunities for us to increase coordination and collaboration with Abkhazia around vaccinations, around the capacity of health workers to ensure that people were safe and healthy. USAID was able to increase some of our support in Abkhazia in support of addressing a worldwide pandemic. And it created good opportunities where we saw doctors on both sides of the ABL being in training and working together to fight what was a global pandemic.
Thank you. მინდა გითხოთ დეცენტრალიზაციის შესახებ, რაც ეხება ადგილობრივ მმართველობას, როგორც ვთქვით, USAID-მა დაიწყო ახალი პროგრამა, რაც ეხება ზუსტად ამ მიმართულებას. საინტერესო რას მოიაზრებს ეს კონკრეტული პროგრამა, ვინ ისარგებლებს ამ პროგრამით და რატომ აკეთებს აქცენტს USAID-ი ადგილობრივი თვითმმართველობის დეცენტრალიზაციაზე. და აქ რო ვკითხოთ, მომავალ კვირას მოეწერება ხელი ურთიერთთანამშრომლობის მემორანდუმს ბათუმის მუნიციპალიტეტთან.
MOU will be signed.
It is a new 5-year program focused on local governance, and the main beneficiaries of this program, honestly, are going to be the Georgian people in the municipalities where we work. Local governance is the most common touch place for any citizen with their government. The local government decides how resources are allocated, which roads get constructed, how social services are funded. And it is very important that citizens feel that connection to their local government, where they can talk about their concerns, state their priorities, and they have a partner on the other side that is responsive and listening. I think that is the first and easiest place that we can create connection and trust between citizens and their government. The USAID Local Governance Program is going to work both at the national and the local level. At the national level, we are supporting the institutions and implementation of the government of Georgia's decentralization strategy. On the local side, we will be working with a minimum of 22 municipalities around the country to help improve their service delivery, increase their connection to their citizens, and overall, not just citizens, but civil society and private businesses as well, to try and create a more functioning holistic unit. In this first year, the local governance program has identified 11 municipalities. As I said, those are just the start. It is going to grow to at least 22 over the next 2 years. I believe here in West Georgia, next week they're going to be signing with the municipality of Batumi, and then for Guria, they're also going to sign MOUs with Ozurgeti and Shokhaturi. What the MOUs outline is the roles and responsibilities of both parts. This is not just a document saying, hey, let's work together. Our project has actually sat down with each municipality to talk about what exactly does it mean to work together.
მადლობა. უფრო კონკრეტულად გავიგე ბათუმის შემთხვევაში მართლმადიდებლური სპეციფიკა, კონკრეტიკა, რაც ხელშეუწყობს დეცენტრალიზაციის პროცესს. აი მუქთანამშრომლობის ფარგლებში რაც რის გაფორმებასაც აპირებთ თქვენ მომავალ კვირას ბათუმის მუნიციპალიტეტთან.
So, I can't get into specifics. I am not a local governance expert. I know that the decentralization process is trying to devolve some of the financial and the decision makings that affect municipalities to the municipalities, and we will be helping to support the national governance process on that. In addition, we'll be working to build the capacity of the local governments to work directly with citizens, increasing touch points. That's going to look different in every municipality, and until the MOUs are signed and we're able to start rolling them out, we're not going to be able to get into specifics, but hopefully next week after it's signed, you and others will start to learn more about what we hope to do specifically here in Batumi.
მაგრამ საქართველოს ხელისუფლების მართვის სტილი არის კაფიოდ ვერტიკალური, ზემოდან ქვევით. და ჩანს რომ ვერ ეძება საშუალება დამოუკიდებლად მიიღონ გადაწყვეტილებები თვითმმართველობის დონეზე. ჩვენ დასავლელი პარტნიორები, მათ შორის ამერიკის შეერთებული შტატები აქტიურად ცდილობს რომ ხელი შეეწყოს დეცენტრალიზაციას ადგილობრივ დონეზე განსაკუთრებით, ხო? მაგრამ თუ გაიგებთ ხელისუფლების ნება, როგორ წარმოგიდგენიათ ამ დეცენტრალიზაციის მიღწევა?
You know, USAID works on local government in different countries, and it always has to be in response to what the local environment is. So, we're working at the national level because there is a strategy on decentralization that hopefully will be operationalized, and we will support it to do that. So, you know, we are supporting a Georgian-led decentralization effort. I would also say that at the local level, your local politicians, your sakrabulos, your mayors, your governors, those are the ones who have the most interaction with their constituents. They have a vested interest in providing good services, strong services, because they're the ones who have to see their constituents every day. Local government is very important for stability and prosperity within an area, a community, a municipality. We've seen that around the world, and we've certainly seen it here. And from the initial outreach that we have done, where we're working with local governments, where we've started to sign these MOUs, there is a huge excitement on the local side. And I really am looking forward to seeing how that translates into a Georgian context. This is a big change for us. We have not had local government programs in a while. It has often been a component of a larger national governance program. But we think it's important that we're reaching people, that we're getting out into the regions, and that we are building those connections starting at the local level, which is why we have now a standalone program.
ვკითხეთ მონიტორინგის სისტემის შესახებ, როგორც ცნობილია, ამერიკის შეერთებულმა შტატებმა დაასანქცია მოსამართლეები, კონკრეტული მოსამართლეები საქართველოში კორუფციაში ჩართულობის გამო. ეს აჩვენებს, რომ შეიძლება კორუფციის რისკი, კორუფცია ჰქონდეს სხვა სახელმწიფო რგოლებშიც, ხო? ამიტომ საინტერესოა USAID-ის პროგრამა, როცა ამ პროგრამების განხორციელებაში ჩართულია სხვადასხვა სახელმწიფო რგოლი, რა მონიტორინგის სისტემა გაქვთ თქვენ, რომ გამოაშკარავდეს ეს კორუფცია და რისკები კორუფციის კუთხით?
So USAID partners with the government at every level through lots of different programs. The vast majority of our support is not providing funding directly to government officials, but rather providing capacity, development, support, institutional contractors. We take very seriously how US government funds are being spent to ensure that they are meeting our overall objectives and goals in a fair and transparent way. We work with partners in partnership to identify what is going to help improve Georgia on its trajectory to be more prosperous and secure. Here in Ajara, it was great. I was sitting next to the Deputy Minister of Finance who was talking about all the ways that USAID has helped to improve the functioning of government, just from helping to create strategic planning, to help communications, human resources. And he was really very thankful for the types of support that we were providing, and their support that are not just increasing the capacity of the government, but also doing so in a way that is in line with European or Western standards for transparency and accountability.
და ბოლოს ვინეკითხოთ, კიდევ რა პროგრამებს ახორციელებს USAID-ი აჭარაში, ასევე რა რესურს ხედავთ, რა პოტენციალს ხედავთ ამ რეგიონში?
USAID supports so many programs here in Ajara that I probably can't get through all of them. There is a lot of potential in West Georgia. All of USAID's programs are focusing on helping Georgia to be more prosperous, more secure, and to advance towards its European future. Batumi, as the second largest city in the country and as a port city, obviously provides much opportunity for continued economic growth. So many of our programs are focused on that area, including looking at transport and logistics, tourism, and light manufacturing. We're also seeing West Georgia as a very important partner. We work with a business here in Batumi called iBamboo. It's a company that creates furniture from bamboo. We worked with them so that they were able to invest in additional equipment that allowed them to create an entire furniture line, which is now being sold to European markets. We also helped connect them to the European markets. Through this investment, they've been able to add an additional 14 high-paying jobs here in Batumi and increase their revenue by over 100,000. In addition, working with the ports, both here and in Poti and the Maritime Transit Authority, we've been working to fix the gap in the job market. There are good paying jobs at the ports where there just simply aren't applicants because people are not trained to be crane operators or shoremen. I'm not even sure what that is, but apparently there's a need for them. So we're working with the trading to connect up that. On the tourism side, obviously, this is a great place to visit. I love being back here. I've really enjoyed the last 2 days.
Which is your favorite landmarks and object in this city? What is your impression?
Well, I love the Georgian alphabet. It's so unique and different, and you've got the alphabet tower that I love to visit. My kids would tell you that their favorite part of any time we visit Batumi is to go on the Ferris wheel, mostly because I am terrified of heights. It's a great place to visit, and when the weather is nice, hopefully we're seeing more tourists come in, not just from Russia, but from Europe. You're seeing more European, German tourists coming here. They're very interested in the cultural heritage, in the access to the Black Sea, to all of the beautiful parts. Even you go up into a mountainous Ajara, and the natural beauty is just stunning. Wonderful hiking, outdoor examples. We actually work with the Georgian tourism agency to try and increase their ability to attract tourists from the West. They're often higher value tourists. They're willing to spend more money on experiences, and they're building up an entire market here in Georgia.
And why you like Georgian alphabet? Is there some specific reason?
So first of all, I think it's beautiful. But the other part I love about it is the pride that Georgians take in their alphabet and their language. You look back at history when under the Soviet Union, where Georgia fought to maintain its language. And that is just such a clear story to me that indicates who the Georgian people are. You have always been a strong and proud people that have maintained your independence, and I think it says great things about the future and where you're going.